Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios, this is York's Local Sports Show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTime PA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Welcome to Game Day of GameTime PA on Sports Radio 1350 WYK. I'm Brandon Stoneberg. I'm back. It's been about a month since I've been on. I got Teddy Feinberg here. We got Zach Miller here. Guys, we had the holidays, so we missed a few shows, but let's jump back into it. We got high school sports bringing you all the action, as always.
Happy New Year.
New Year. If you really say we're the number one source of information, Teddy wants to tell you Happy New Year.
Sorry.
So Happy New Year. We've hit the midway point of the winter sports season. We got wrestling, plenty of wrestling to talk about. Zach Miller's here, guys. Don't worry. He knows his wrestling stuff. He'll hit you with that. We got a lot of basketball stuff to talk about. We've hit the halfway point of that. And there's some surprises in the basketball season that we'll get to. First off, Teddy, this is a segment where we like to give out a few game balls. Zach, we give out some game balls. I'm actually going to throw it to Zach first. I'm going to let Teddy gain his momentum here for a second.
Thank you, Brandon. I need it
gain his
really
composure
bad.
here.
He looks a little disheveled. We're going to give him a minute.
Brandon saw my face. And he's like, Zach, take the mic right now.
I went to pass it to you in a corner, but you were double teamed. So I'm giving it over to Zach right
So
now.
I'm wide open over here, so I'm going to take it. I got a game ball.
Go for it.
Just one today.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to Katie Lockman of the DeLone Catholic girls basketball team. She scored 20 points against York Catholic on Tuesday in a 53-49 overtime victory. But more than just the 20 points is she stuck by Kate Bayhoff for almost the whole game. They held her to 5 points for the whole game. 1 field goal, 3 free throws. That's a huge accomplishment.
It was a great win, and that was a great game, and that stat was astounding.
It really was a great game.
She's one of the better guards. I mean, we put her on the cover of our basketball preview, Bayhoff. She's one of the best guards in the league.
Jinx.
So for Loftman to lock her up, and Loftman, I remember you saying before the season, Eckerode had to tell her to shoot because she didn't want to shoot. Now she's got 20-point games.
Yeah, and really, I mean, there was some shooting, but a lot of it was taking the ball to the hoop and not being afraid to go try to get some layups when she had some space. So, she played a great game on both sides of the ball. I mean, other girls obviously stepped up too. It was very much a team win for DeLone. Really, really exciting game. York Catholic had 4 free throws that could have tied or won the game at the end. Fans going crazy, but I mean, it's everything you expect from a DeLone Catholic, York Catholic girls basketball game.
Free throws to me. I mean, actually, so Zach live streamed it like in real time.
I did,
which was extremely cool.
That Periscope?
Yeah,
using the Periscope.
So I was watching it, and I was yelling at the computer in the office. And those free throws are so hard,
especially the last two, because
they
time
take
expired.
everyone off the line.
Exactly. So she's standing there by herself with hundreds of people watching her shoot free throws, and she made one.
She did make one.
I don't think I could make two doing that.
I was watching a pro game the other night, and someone missed some free throws, and I was like, as good as those guys are, even like those are hard free throws for those guys to make. Those are really. I don't think that they will. No matter what level you play on, there's a lot of pressure. And then, like you said, you take everyone off the line. I mean, you're literally standing in no man's land at the free throw line, like in pure isolation.
Yeah, Coach Benkos actually said to me after the game he wishes they would change the rule and just let you put a couple people on the line to,
bring
not
fans out of the stands.
Yeah,
just get some bodies out there.
I was at York Catholic yesterday to do a different story, and I ran into Benkos, and I talked to him briefly about it, and he said that he laughed because his old friend Eckenrode on the other side tried to call a timeout during those free throws when there was no timeout.
Yeah, he did, and the refs were like, "You can't do that."
Yeah, he tried to ice him with a timeout.
Eckenrode was pulling out all the stops in that game.
It's actually hilarious to watch those two guys coach against each other because they're good friends and they're talking before the game and laughing, and it's just it's a good battle.
I want to say this too. I mean, during the live stream, Eckenrode, they made the call to send her back to the line, and the bench was irate, but the whole crowd There's kind of like a crowd of DeLone Catholic coaches and players out on the court. And the crowd disseminates, and the only 2 people are left are Eckenrode yelling at the ref. I mean, it was so classic.
Yeah, the way that they had a little press row set up, and it put us behind the DeLone bench. So the whole time I'm sitting right behind all the girls. And
Zach could have been a GA on the team. He was like the recruiting
Yeah, I was
coordinator.
right there. So that's why, you definitely had a good view of what was going on in that bench from where I was sitting broadcasting it on Periscope.
Sipe was like, "Hey, there's Jerry," and everyone's like, "Ah, ah," and yelling. It was classic moment.
The other thing he said was, I think it was Jania, right? Was the girl on the line? He said that he called her over during it and just told her to have fun. He said, this is supposed to be a fun moment for you. Like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. He tried to help. I mean, she did end up making one.
She did make one.
And that was after she missed 2 with like 1.6 seconds left. Now she's going back up to the line. And, to have the mental stamina even to make that first one says something, because you could easily melt down after missing the 2.
I think those are great words of wisdom, actually. I mean, you want to alleviate the pressure somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be like, you have to make these.
Yeah, then he said he told her, he's like, look, like in the big picture, it's a January game. We're supposed to be having fun. This is a fun rivalry game. It's not, if we lose this game, it's not the end of the world. But go out there and have fun. I guess.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it, I think. And he obviously knows how to win, so not surprised that he's finding the right words to say.
It's going to be interesting to see, and we can touch on this more later, but just them and William Penn. Obviously, York Catholic's won 10 straight District 3 titles, which is unreal. William Penn's won 2 straight. It'll be interesting to see if those streaks stay alive. York Catholic's kind of rebuilding a little bit on the fly here. We can get into that more, obviously, later in the program. It just crossed my mind.
Ted, do you have any game balls?
I do.
Go for it.
I'm going to give it to a player that I personally really enjoy, a gentleman by the name of Devin Duval. He plays on New Oxford.
Well, Oxford getting some love today.
You know what? It's a scrap iron pick, and here's why. They don't have a ton of wins. I swear, every night this dude is dropping 20. Every night.
Him and John Wessel together can both average 20-plus a game.
And I actually think it's, I mean, from a game time standpoint, I think he'd make a very good feature, because every time I look at the box score, it's like, opponent 58, New Oxford 48, Devin Duval led the way with 25 every time. Well, actually, he scored 46 points in 2 games, and they won their home tournament last weekend.
Nice.
So if they're going to win, I'm definitely going to give him some love. And he's had a good year. He's putting in the time. He's putting points on the board. He's putting the ball in the bucket. So I'm going to give him the nod. That's my game ball.
That's a great pick.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, I do those top scoring graphics at the end of some of these basketball nights, and he's always like I just leave him. I save it and I just leave him in there because he's always up there. Just leave him.
He's always there.
Just leave him in there.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm going with 2. I'm giving 1 to York Catholic boys basketball, off to an 8-2 start after a rough year last year. They got 2 transfers. I got to meet with them yesterday, and we did a little feature story that's up online. But Malik Martin, transfer from York High, and DeAndre Davis, transfer from York High. They've come into York Catholic and helped turn those guys around. They went from 11-13, I think they finished last year. They lost their top scorer. They hired a first-year coach, Blaine Claiborne, from the York High area. He actually went to York Catholic, but he said he's in the city. But those 2 guys plus Fortune, all averaging at least 12 points a game. They got them off to an 8-2 start. They got a big win over Hanover Tuesday night to kind of put them at the top of the division. And then the Central York boys basketball team, they're also part of that story. They're up to 12-1, 11-1 now. 9 of their 11 wins are against teams with 500 record or better. And even those guys said they're kind of surprised by it. I mean, with that record or with that schedule, Jared Wagner on the team, senior guard, said he would have been happy with a 6-6 or 7-5 start with that schedule they have, and they're 11-1 right now.
Haven't seen him play at all. Don't really know a ton outside of what I talked to you about and read about, but my gut feeling tells me they have a great coach, because they lost their big man. So when you
and their leading scorer, they lost Saxton, their leading scorer, and Gingrich, their leading rebounder.
I mean, you're entering the year expecting to have Gingrich, though, right? I mean, at least in your mind, it's possible. So you lose him, you lose your philosophy has to change. And I'm assuming you were at the game the other night, but I'm assuming they are playing small ball now. I'm assuming they've reinvented themselves to a degree.
They've reinvented themselves. They play ridiculous defense. They're one of the best defensive teams I've seen, led by Wagner. He averages 4 or 5 steals a game right now. He's crazy right now.
Yeah.
But the whole team, they played team defense. And really, everyone, when I asked them, what's the difference this year, they said their chemistry is the best they've ever seen. All the coaches, without hearing each other's answers, said this is the best chemistry
They
I've
had
ever seen.
great comments in that story.
You can see that in the balance on offense with 3 players scoring in double digits.
Yeah, they got Wagner, Markey. They also live and die by the 3. They can shoot. I mean, all 5 starters can shoot for them. They're kind of like those 4-guard lineups that Villanova used to run out.
Nugget and Brandon's story, too. I think Wagner went from averaging 11.5 points per game to 17.5. That's a big bump.
He's gone up. Markey made a big jump. Markey was kind of like a 6th man last year, like a Ginobili type role, and he's stepped up and been the biggest biggest compliment to Wagner. And I mean, every time I've seen him, somebody else steps up. I was at the York High game the other night, and a sophomore, Landon Ray. I played with his older brother, so I felt really old. But Landon Ray steps out there, a sophomore lefty, comes out there gunning.
Continue.
He gets like 14 points. Courtney Batts comes out of nowhere, and he gets 15 points. These guys, their role players continue to step up, and they all look confident. They never look scared or shook in a moment.
They've both those teams have definitely had. I mean, you mentioned York Catholic, who I think is I think they are really good, and then Central, I think, has definitely. Both those have had have had great years. And I want to say, one of your Catholic's losses, they have two.
They have two. Bethlehem Catholic, they lost by 1. Bethlehem Catholic's a really good team.
They literally got blocked. That was a great game.
And they lost to Trinity, who's like number 1 in the district right now by 10
there
points.
You go.
So those are their 2 losses. And they used to run. I was teasing them yesterday. York Catholic used to be known for all their little back screens and flare screens. They were the most annoying team to defend because they would just do the Hoosiers offense, 10 passes.
Princeton offense, yeah.
And now they're the second best scoring offense in the league. They're up and down the court. So the new system, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, more exciting.
I think they're legit. Now, they have an interesting game against DeLone Catholic on Friday. And DeLone has kind of, if York Catholic's been a quote-unquote surprise, DeLone's kind of been a little bit of a disappointment early. So that's going to be a key game. It's always key when those two teams meet. But a win for DeLone there would really boost them. You know what I mean?
Get them right back in the mix in Division 3 because those teams, York Catholic's obviously off to a good start. Hanover's off to a good start. But nobody else is really running away with anything, So all it takes is a couple of wins against those top teams to be right back in the mix.
Get that confidence going. That would be huge for them. So that'll be an intriguing game.
All right. Any other game balls? We good?
That's all.
Athletes of the week. We have any athletes of the week?
Oh, we do have some athletes of the week. Thank you, Brandon. Shaking the rust off in 2016. Okay, so from a York Adams standpoint, Devin Duval won it. He was the MVP of the Colonial Basketball Classic. He scored 46 points. New Oxford, the wins haven't been plentiful this year, but they did pocket 2 W's in the tournament. And then, speak of the devil, they actually host Central York on Friday, so that'll be a big game for them. Courtney Dimoff, Redline girls basketball. I believe Redline is still undefeated, if I'm not mistaken. Whether they have a loss or not is kind of inconsequential. They have a lot of wins. She scored 15 points in the team's win over Ambridge. They won the Altoona tournament title. I know she also had a big game later in the week. I think she dropped 20-plus points, may have hit 5 or 6 3 balls. That's not on this piece of paper here, but I know she's obviously had a great year, and they've had a great year as well. So that's the game ball situation. I know we also come back in segment 2. We have a very interesting talking point to discuss. Brandon did a story last year about well, you guys can explain it better. Girls being unable to wrestle. It's a diocese ruling coming out of Harrisburg over the past year, and it really came back to bite DeLone Catholic this past week in a match against McGaskey. We're going to get into it. Zach did that reporting there. We'll talk to him about it, get both their thoughts on game day with GameTime PA.
Traditional rivals clash with a lot on the line Friday in the high school basketball game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I bring you the action as York Catholic hosts DeLone Catholic. The Irish claim sole possession of first place in Division 3 with a win Tuesday over Hanover. The Squires can pull within 1 game of the division lead with a win and avenge a 13-point loss to the Irish in McSherrystown last month. York Catholic DeLone Catholic Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Welcome to WOYK's high school basketball scoreboard for games from Tuesday, January 5th. We tip it off with Dallastown visiting New Oxford. Here's Ben Ferree.
Dallastown cruises to an 84-53 victory against New Oxford. Dallastown's defense started the game fast, causing many Colonial turnovers, which led to easy Dallastown layups. In addition to the turnovers, New Oxford struggled shooting the ball, which allowed Dallastown to cruise to a 26-point halftime lead over the Colonials. New Oxford was led by Devin Duval, who scored 20 points, including 14 in the first half. 12 Dallastown Wildcats scored in the game, but they were led by Daycho Albert, who had 17. Aaron Ward also contributed 16 points for Dallastown. The Wildcats finished the game with good ball movement, allowing them to get easy shots. The Dallastown Wildcats dominated the New Oxford Colonials 84-53. Reporting for Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, I'm Ben Ferree.
Spring Grove traveled to Red Lion. Tony Nello has the report.
Spring Grove Rockets defeated the Red Lion Lions 53-37. Gary Hunt led the Lions with 12 points, while Spring Grove's leading scorer was surprisingly someone not named Eli Brooks. Darren Gordon led the Rockets with 20 points, throwing down a few dunks in the process. To Brooks' credit, the stats don't show how well he played. He was on the floor every other play, showing extreme hustle, but only had 13 points to show for it. After Hunt's buzzer beater to end the first quarter, it looked like Red Lion would begin to swing the momentum in a game dominated by Spring Grove. Unfortunately for the Lions, the Rockets were red-hot shooting-wise, and the Lions just couldn't slow them down. Reporting for Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, I'm Tony Nello.
York Catholic won 69-58 at Hanover. Central outlasted York High 77-69 in overtime. Dover toppled Susquehanna 47-44 in OT. West York rolled to a 63-35 win over York Suburban. DeLone ran over York Tech 82-38. Littlestown came back to beat Fairfield 72-65. That's your high school basketball scoreboard for games from Tuesday, January 5th.
People's Bank is happy to announce that you can now find our name in an exciting new place. The home of the York Revolution is now People's Bank Park. People's Bank has been serving York County for more than 150 years, committed to making it a great place to live, work, and play. That commitment continues at People's Bank Park with Revs games, concerts, events, youth sports, and more. We're proud to partner with the York Revolution, and we look forward to seeing you at People's Bank Park. People's Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Brogan Nicholas of Eastern York Basketball. Nicholas helped the Golden Knights to a holiday tournament championship at Elizabethtown last week and scored 22 points on 6 made three-pointers in a 64-50 win over the Bears in the championship game. The Golden Knights improved to 7-3 with the win. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athletes of the Week are Jenna Woods and Casey Oberlander of Dallastown Swimming. Woods and Oberlander both won a pair of individual events in a tournament victory at home. Woods won the 200 intermediate and 100 breaststroke along with a pair of relay wins. Oberlander finished first in the 200 free and 100 backstroke.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Red Lion Boys basketball coach Steve Schmale. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day of GameTime PA on Sports Radio 1350. Brandon Stoneberg, Zach Miller, Teddy Feinberg in the house, bringing you all your York and Adams County high school sports news here. Biggest thing to kind of come across, first off, this is a really big wrestling hotbed area, so a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of people kind of not upset, but pretty fired up about this latest story that came out. About a year and a half ago, the diocese in Harrisburg sent out a ruling that Catholic schools in contact sports such as football and wrestling had to forfeit if a girl came out on the other side.
So they can't have girls on their team, and they cannot compete against girls on other teams. So in wrestling, you know, if a girl comes out, you have to forfeit that match.
Right. So it was kind of when we asked them about it a year and a half ago, it was more of a physical contact thing. They didn't want, wrestling around with a girl, which in a Catholic school, I get it. So basically at that point, everyone said, we can't imagine this happening, but if it did, someone can really hurt a DeLone Catholic wrestling team by just sending a girl out there. That's an automatic loss for the DeLone Catholic. So it was kind of a big deal at the time. People were kind of upset about it, but no one saw it for about a year and a half. And then this week, I guess, or last week, it actually happened.
Yeah, it really came to the forefront this weekend because J.P. McCaskey High School took advantage of the rule, essentially, by sending out two girls who are not...
Let's just say they found a loophole. They
took advantage. Found a loophole. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of wheeze what they did, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's for you to decide, not for... Well, we'll talk about it, actually. We'll give our opinions, too.
I just said it.
All right. We know where Teddy stands on the issue. Anyway, what J.P. McCaskey did is late in the match, when it was tied at 30 with 3 matches left, they have 2 girls that are on their junior varsity team but never have wrestled a varsity match in their lives. They're never used... essentially to go out in varsity matches. They sent them both out and forced DeLone Catholic to forfeit both matches. They went up 42-31 30, ended up winning 42-36. So it really made the difference in that match. And I talked to somebody who is a wrestling guru. He seems to be the only guy in the state that knows more about wrestling than Andy Meese. So he must really know his stuff.
Now.
So he knows his stuff, and he says this is the first time he has heard about a team, finding a loophole, taking advantage, whatever you want to call it, and kind of using the diocese rule to get a win, essentially.
Were you at this match?
I was not.
Okay.
So
do we know what the reaction was like at the time? Or
I talked to Coach Sneeringer, who's DeLone Catholic's coach, about it. He said it kind of happened so fast that people didn't quite realize what happened. If you've been to wrestling matches, the forfeits, kid runs out, it's a forfeit, it's over. And it was towards the end of the match, and Brian Schermeyer ended up going out to wrestle the final match. And I think when it first happened, people were kind of confused, didn't fully get it. DeLone didn't object or anything. Sneeringer said the kids understand the rule. They understand why the rule's in place. They shook hands after the match and went on and, didn't make a big fuss about it. But definitely, as word started to spread throughout the gym, it sounds like some of the fans were kind of annoyed with what happened.
I was interested by their reaction. I thought that the possibility was obviously there for them to say, hey, that's not the spirit of the rule. But they didn't. In reading your story, like you said, they said, hey, the rule's in place, we stand by it, and that's the way it is. And they were fine with it.
Right. And it's not a coach's decision, it's not a kid's decision. It's something that's coming from the diocese, and they have to follow it. They don't really have a choice. So obviously, I talked to people on both sides, from DeLone, from McCaskey, put the article up online yesterday. And obviously, there's been a lot of reaction from people all over. Most people seem to think it was a little bit of a, what did you say, a wheeze move?
Yeah, it's Weasley.
Weasel,
yes, precisely.
Right. But there's a few people out there that think it's smart coaching. It's a way to get a win. There's people out there that just think the rule is stupid. They don't really have an opinion on what J.P. McCaskey did as so much as they don't like the rule. And so,
there's clearly different ways to look at it.
Exactly. And what was interesting, though, that I found out, I couldn't get a hold of the McCaskey wrestling coach, but I did get a hold of their AD, who was the wrestling coach there for more than 2 decades. And he is actually the guy who founded the Pennsylvania Girls High School Wrestling Championships. So he is a big proponent of girls wrestling, and the current McCaskey coach's wife wrestled. His daughter is in their youth program. So, this is not something that was against girls wrestling in any way. If anything, it was maybe a statement that, like, hey, let our girls wrestle. But he says it wasn't a statement either. But there's just so many different layers to this from all different sides. But I think it's important to realize, that the history of girls wrestling at J.P. McCaskey.
All right, so Zach's obviously reporting on the story, and he's going to be impartial on the issue. And right. I threw the wheeze word out there. Brandon, what's your opinion here?
Well, when we heard about it a year and a half or whatever it was ago, people said at that time, even talked to Dave Lawrence, the AD, and he said this could hurt us down the road at some point. Maybe not in a January match, but what happens if somebody pulls us out in districts or if they made a state run?
Yeah, the concern was more of an individual tournament. If your kid's in a bracket, maybe in the consolations, and ends up the way the bracket works out, you're up against a girl. Now that kid's going to have to forfeit his chance at moving on. That was, I think, more of the concern when the rule came down, rather than a team blatantly sending girls out just to get points in a dual meet.
Right.
Pardon my ignorance. I know where I'm coming from, where the only other state I've worked was New Mexico, and I can't recall any female wrestlers being in that state. Mm-hmm. Is it common to have female wrestlers throughout the country in high school wrestling?
I think we counted 8 in the league last year.
Yeah,
I think most of them are at the lower levels.
As far as I know, there's 2 varsity wrestlers this year. One is at Northeastern, who was actually at the Cantor Duels, and when they went up against DeLone Catholic, they decided to keep their girl out for that. Out of respect for what their rules are, they decided to not even send their girl out there, which is another way to do it. And then the other team that has a girl is Hanover, who has a freshman who's come up through their youth program. She is a legitimate varsity starter, and DeLone and Hanover face each other in a dual meet tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what Hanover does, because she is their normal starter. And when I asked Coach Sneeringer about it, he said, that's okay. And if Hanover sends her out, she's their legitimate starter, and they won't wrestle her, and that's fine. The issue with McCaskey was more, these are girls that don't wrestle. They didn't wrestle in any other matches that day. They purposely were just there to score forfeit points in that one match,
I'm trying to think of like a parallel in other sports where you might see things, and I'm not trying to obviously draw an exact parallel because I think this is a unique situation. But maybe in basketball, you see a very poor free throw shooter, and you go out of your way to put him on the free throw line. Like you see that with, you see that in the NBA clearly. You saw it historically, or the enforcer in hockey who's literally out there
to hurt people,
just to cause a rush. John Scott is just hunting. He's head hunting out there. So I try to draw parallels to that because I think my initial one was wheeze. But then I asked myself, well, is it that or is it gamesmanship? There's two different things. You know what I mean? Gamesmanship is putting the guy at the free throw line. And I think I'm kind of middle of the road there. I still think my heart says wheeze, but my head says gamesmanship.
I think the reason most people find it to be wheeze, as you say, is that
it's in the dictionary.
it's that these two girls weren't real varsity wrestlers.
They haven't wrestled all year, correct?
I mean, they wrestle in JV, they weigh in for tournaments, but they have not wrestled a varsity match all year. This was it. And so it's obviously a different situation. It may or may not happen tonight. I don't know if Hanover's going to send Kylie Kaler out there or not, but it's a different situation when it's more of a legitimate girls wrestler, and I have no idea what weight they're going to start at tonight, but who knows? It could come down to maybe they start at 120 or 126, and 113 towards the end of the match is going to be important points, and then Hanover's got to make a decision. Do we send her out knowing we're going to get a forfeit? Or
does DeLone wrestle 113 anyway? Because last year
they
forfeited.
DeLone has a full team, and so does Hanover, but and I don't think Hanover has another 113 pounder to send out instead. So I am interested to see what Kurt Brenner decides to do.
I don't think they hold her back and forfeit their own
because it's also not fair to her. That's the other thing is like for her coach to say, hey, DeLone has a rule against wrestling girls. You've worked so hard to earn this spot. Now you're just going to have to sit this match out against our biggest rival. That's hardly fair to her either.
I think it's safe to say trotting her out there, just to get the forfeit W, say what you will, but it's not making your team better. I mean, I would feel like you'd rather compete with the chips on the line than just force a team's hand.
So McCaskey also had kids. They pulled back. They said, you're coming back, send the girl out instead.
Right, like I'd rather my kid wrestle under adverse circumstances than just pocket the win.
Not a whole lot of faith in the two guys who they pulled back then to forfeit.
You're kind of indiscreetly you're sending that message, whether it's true or not. That's how it can be interpreted.
Yeah, well, potentially. Or you're saying to those kids, you might win. We have some confidence in you, but this is a sure 6 points now.
Sure.
You might get a decision, but now we can get 6 points.
Even if you have a 70% chance to win, this is surefire.
And it's 6 points. It's not 3 or 4 or 5. It's 6 for the forfeit. So
I can see how it's gamesmanship. I think it's bad for the sport overall. I think it hurts. I think it's bad for the kids. I think it's bad for the sport. But if you're going for just the win, you're focused on just the win, then I think it's a smart move.
If you're going by the letter of the law and you're just looking to get a W in the win column,
then you're fine because McCaskey didn't make the rule. Hanover didn't make the rule. Northeastern didn't make the rule. Whoever has the girl on the team, they didn't make the rule that you guys can't wrestle girls. That's on you. That's your choice.
Right.
Or that's your diocese choice.
Right, exactly.
It's a fascinating story.
It is interesting because...
And just for point of order, you're going to be at the match tonight.
I will be at the match.
On Twitter.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. As soon as I find out what's going to happen, because I could kind of see Kurt Brenner doing either thing. He's a classy guy. I think really nice guy. Brandon, you've probably dealt with him, right?
Yeah, he's a really good guy.
He's great to work with.
I can see him also saying, "Look, that's not on. Like we're sending her out because she deserves to be here too." So.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him saying, maybe we'll double forfeit that match out of respect for DeLone, or maybe he says, you know what, like. This girl has been with our program for 3 years. This is her 4th year, essentially. And, she's earned her spot, and we don't want to hold her back because that's not fair to her. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because I could see it going either way.
Well, you bring up a good point with the McGaskey issue because the girls, I want to make sure I'm interpreting it right, but they essentially don't really wrestle often, if ever, on the varsity level.
Right, not on the varsity level.
They were there for a reason that night. For that reason.
Essentially, yes. Yeah. I think Coach Neeringer called it kind of using them as a token, which... There's certainly some truth to that wording,
Sure.
All right. Past DeLone in that issue, what else have we seen from wrestling that stood out to you so far?
Out in the Hanover Adams area, we got a lot of really good teams. Southwestern and Spring Grove looks like it's going to come down to their rivalry showdown late in the year
in Division 1
for who wins Division 1. And that's going to be some match, because I've been out at both of their home duels this season. I mean, there's hundreds of people there. When they get together on the same night, I don't even think Spring Grove's gym is going to be able to hold the amount of people that are going to be there. It's going to be exciting. Southwestern is really, really strong from about 120 to 160. Spring Grove's strength is more at the upper weights, and also their 106-pounder Clay Baker, who's a freshman, and 113-pounder Dalton Rohrbaugh, who's a sophomore. They're both having great seasons. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they match up, because their strongest kids aren't necessarily going to be up against each other. I definitely see Division 1 coming down to that match at the end of the year. And then on the same week, you got Biglerville and Bermudian are going to face each other, likely for the Division 3 title. I haven't seen Biglerville yet this season, but I know Nate Newberry and Scott Cooper are picking up where they left off and having really good seasons. Bermudian I got to see for the first time yesterday. And, they're just doing what Bermudian does. They have a full team, a lot of good wrestlers. They don't necessarily have the studs they had last year when they had McCollum and Colton Dull and Britton Shelton. Yeah. But, they're strong from top to bottom. And Austin Claybaugh and Noah Fleshman, who both went to states last year, and Brady Linebaugh. They got 3 kids that went to states last year that are back. So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to make noise. They're the favorite in the division still, like they are every year, and they're going to be around come districts, and they're going to have some kids at states, I'm sure.
So Division 1, most likely, we're talking Spring Grove, Southwestern. Division 3, we're talking Bigler, Bermudian. Any thoughts on Division 2?
I get to see as much of Division 2, obviously, because Gettysburg's the only team out in my area. I haven't seen them yet this season. I have seen West York. I mean, they got beat pretty bad by Spring Grove, but like I said, Spring Grove's got a really good team. Kennard-Dale, I think, is undefeated right now in Division 2. They won it last year. I would think they're probably considered to be the favorite in that division. Okay. Also in Division 1, you can't forget about New Oxford, who nearly beat Southwestern in a crazy match that came down to Owen Worley getting a pin when Southwestern was down 5 in the final match to win it by 1. So they have Red Lions tonight. If they win, they'll kind of be keeping pace with Southwestern and Spring Grove and could still be in the mix. So
I saw Central early this year. Then I went on vacation, so I kind of lost track. But they got off to a hot start with Dylan Chatterton. I think they've fallen off a little bit, though.
Yeah, I think they got beat pretty good by Spring Grove, who, again, having a great season. I'm not sure Central can hang with the Spring Groves and Southwesterns. I'm not even sure New Oxford. We'll see. There's a lot of dual meets to go. We'll find out in the coming month.
All right, well, there's your wrestling update, Teddy. When we come back, we're gonna talk some boys hoops, and then wrap the show up later on with some girls hoops, and call it a day after that.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks,
No
Brandon.
problem.
Traditional rivals clash with a lot on the line Friday in the high school basketball game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I bring you the action as your Catholic host, Lone Catholic. The Irish claim sole possession of first place in Division 3 with a win Tuesday over Hanover. The Squires can pull within 1 game of the division lead with a win and avenge a 13-point loss to the Irish in McSherrystown last month. Your Catholic to Lone Catholic Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Welcome to WOYK's high school basketball scoreboard for games from Tuesday, January 5th. We tip it off with Dover visiting Susquehannock. Here's Eliza Kravitz.
Last night, the Dover Eagles traveled south to take on the Susquehannock Warriors. In the first quarter, the Warriors jumped out to an early lead with a total of 6 points from Jacob Manhan. Dover managed to stay in the game and was only down by 1 at the end of the first quarter. It was anybody's game in the second quarter, but the Warriors were able to end the first half with a 3-point lead. Dover started the second half on a 10-0 run to take the lead 33-28 after the third. In the fourth quarter, the Warriors managed to tie the game 40-40. In overtime, clutch free throws from Naja Fink and Keith Davis won the game for Dover. The final score was Dover 47, Susquehannock 43. Reporting for Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, I'm Eliza Kravitz.
York High visited Central. Cade Burdett reports.
Packed crowd at Central for the rematch of the past 2 county championship games. The Central York Panthers and the York High Bearcats. Panthers' Courtney Batson started off hot for the Panthers, totaling 10 points in the first quarter. He ended with 15 in his first start, replacing the injured Nico Sobostanovic. Landon Ray also provided a spark off the bench, going 3 for 4 from the 3-point line with 13 points. After halftime, Jared Wagner got hot after a rough first half and ended the game as the game's leading scorer with 21 and 9 rebounds. At one point in the third, the Panthers led 52-39, and just when you thought the Panthers had in the bag, the Bearcats fought back, tied up with 67 to go to overtime. Just following the tip in overtime, Courtney Batts fell hardest after getting his shot blocked on a breakaway on what appeared to be a leg injury. But that wouldn't hold back the Panthers as they shot 10 for 12 from the free throw line in overtime to the Bearcats' 2 points. Central would go on to win 77-69 in overtime. For the Bearcats, Shiflett had 20, Morgan had 17, and Chris Johnson notched a double-double with 16 points and 11 rebounds. Reporting for Sports Radio 1350 WOIK, I'm Cade Burdett.
Dallastown won 84-53 at New Oxford. York Catholic won at Hanover 69-58. West York over York Suburban 63-35. Spring Grove topped Red Lion 53-37.
Did you know that Shipley Energy can take care of all your energy needs? From heating oil and propane to providing your home with electricity and natural gas. We also provide heating and air conditioning service and installation. All of your energy needs are under one roof at Shipley Energy. To learn more, visit shipleyenergy.com. Call 855-4-SHIPLEY and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm West York boys basketball coach Bill Ackerman. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day with GameTime PA Sports Radio 1350. We're going to talk about some boys hoops now. We got Teddy Feinberg, Zach Miller, and myself here, covering it every day. So got all your action for you, all your expertise here at the round table for you. Zach,
4 to 5 on game. Sorry, man. I always cut Brandon off. 4 to 5 on game time PA. 6 to 7 on WOIK. Sorry, Brandon. That was so unprofessional.
No worry about it.
No,
I just want to make sure everyone knows what time we're on what station.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 to 5 on our live stream on Game Time, 6 to 7 on WOYK 1350.
All right, we're going to kick it to Zach first to hear some things on his thoughts on some Hanover area teams. First off, Division I, you got Spring Grove high flying, 6-1, 7-1 right now. Brooks is averaging almost 30 a game, which I put in a story the other day. That's the equivalent, because of the minutes in high school, that's the equivalent to an NBA guy getting 40 a game, basically. Because in 32 minutes, he's averaging 30 a game. So if you played a 48-minute game, you'd be in the 40s. See how I did math there?
Good math.
I'll be honest with you, you just blew my mind away with that.
So Brooks is basically dropping 45 a night.
If he played, if he played in the NBA, yes.
They got Darren Gordon up there averaging 15 or 16. The recent York College commit. Have you seen these guys yet?
I haven't. I know you've seen them a couple times, right?
Seen them a couple times.
I know it's the team to see, and I got to get out there to see them one of these days.
They have one loss in the year. The first night they looked very rusty. They weren't into a rhythm yet. They lost obviously a very good Central York team at Central, and they lost by 3 points. So I mean, they took on the top dog.
Brandon got a great video of it, Brooks dunking.
Oh, yeah. Brooks got a steal half court and threw it down. He's had a couple big dunks so far. He keeps getting better. I think he's racked up. He's at offer number 9 or 10 now in Division I offer. So he keeps getting better. But Division I is going to be a tight race there. Spring Grove Central could come down to those two. William Penn's not out of it yet. William Penn, I saw them a couple times now too, and their fan base is pretty upset. Their guys are frustrated. Their body language now is terrible. They look shaken up. I mean, they're 7-6, which most teams will take at this point, especially with their schedule.
The expectations are very high.
So high. And Sauer said that after the game. He says the expectations are high. It's hard to lose. And York's extra tough on you when you lose when you're down there. I mean, there's
at York High. I mean, he could be anywhere. Not York in general, just that program.
York High. I mean, their losses are to Chester, Coatesville, Central, Spring Grove, Lower Marion. We're talking the best of the best here. Reading. They've lost to the top teams.
And they were there with Coatesville.
They've been in 3 of those losses. They had the ball with a chance to win in the last possession. They just didn't get it done.
It's tough. They lost a lot. They're not the same team they were last year.
They lost Jair Wilson, our player of the year from last year. They lost Smallwood, who was expected to come back and ended up not coming back. He was a big piece. They don't have a lot of depth. They usually only run 6 or 7 guys out there a night.
Smallwood was huge for them last year.
Smallwood was huge.
He was kind of like Jair was the stud, but Smallwood kind of did the
and Shaw was a big glue guy for them. Shaw was a big energy and glue guy for them. They lost him to graduation. So a lot of pieces. And they don't have a lot of depth. They're not a great rebounding team. They're not a good half-court team right now. There's a whole lot of things they need to get better at. If they're not pushing, if they're not getting steals and making transition, when they do that, they're the old York High we know.
I don't know if they've ever been a great half-court team.
No,
they need that. We talk about they need their defense to create their offense.
Right.
What you're alluding.
Yep. And I've seen them 2 or 3 times now. And anytime they get into a close game, or anytime a team slows them down, they get into a half court, and their half court is passes or no passes. The one guy brings it up, does 3 spin moves, and throws it off the backboard. And Sowers hates it. He can't stand it. He said, "I thought it would wear off by now, but we're 13 games in, and we're still talking about the same issues." The thing that really surprised me last time was when they lost to Central. Their body language was terrible. They were arguing with each other. Sowers afterwards was very adamant about how there's dumb drama on the team. They're bickering over dumb stuff. He says, they want to get better, and they're having some issues right now. Their schedule ahead of them is it's mostly league games now. They're done playing the Lower Marions and the Reddings. So they have a chance to still win the division, still get into
there's
districts.
lots and lots of league games to play. They're definitely not out of it by any means.
Definitely not out of it. I think they're a little taken aback by their star. 7-6 is still a solid start, but they expected a lot more. But now they're chasing Central, and they were down 15 in that game in the second half, came all the way back and tied it, and actually had a chance to win it at the buzzer and missed a shot at the buzzer, and Central won in overtime. But all three of those teams have played. William Penn took Spring Grove and Central to overtime, and then Central Spring Grove was a 3-point game. So there's not a whole lot of separation at the top of that division.
It's going to be fun to see them play each other again.
Yeah.
Luckily, we get to see it at the opposite site now.
Yeah, Spring Grove's been on the road for both of those games, I think, so far. So both teams have to travel to Spring Grove, and then Central has to go to York High. So that'll be very exciting. Division 3, we kind of touched on it. Malik Martin, DeAndre Davis, Andrew Fortune, York Catholic have kind of taken up the top. Hanover, though, I mean, they got Kyle Kraut. He's also scoring a bunch so far. Every time I see his name, he's got 27.
They've had
28.
a good year. Yeah, they win obviously they lost to Catholic the other night, but Zach and I spoke about Hanover when we were doing the Hoops preseason tab video. And, they lost a ton of players last year, including
Krieger,
who did everything from
Boston,
a scoring standpoint.
Bosserman was their big defensive guy. Rhodes is their big rebounder. So they lost a lot.
They're still winning games. So
yeah, one guy who's been huge coming back off an injury who didn't play last year is Hunter Martz. He can kind of do everything. Like, he can shoot pretty well. He doesn't look like a kid who shoots, but he can really shoot the ball. And, I mean, he's just a total hustle player. You can call him a glue guy, but he's a lot more than that. He's a guy that kind of keeps everything moving. He's given 100% all the time, diving for loose balls, trying to get rebounds, and he can shoot it, and Kraut can shoot it, and McQueen can shoot it. And so when they get hot, I saw a game where they hit, I think, 12 threes in a game, maybe 11. And, when they get hot like that, it's really tough to stop them.
I think it's like that. Basketball is just one of those games where,
when you're on, you're on.
People talk about the NCAA tournament, March Madness, and it's like, well, if a team hits, 10 of 17 3-pointer, that's why it's March Madness, because if you get hot from deep, you're winning.
Norfolk State against Mizzou, 2012. I was there.
I think I had to remind you. But yeah,
banking in threes. Sometimes it's just your day.
Exactly. If you're hitting from deep, and like you said, Hanover, when they're hitting from three-land, they're tough to beat them. Yeah, you can say that about any basketball team out there. It's just the way that game works.
And York Catholic and Hanover, beyond them, DeLone has kind of been. I saw them win by 50 the other night. Before that, they've lost to some bad teams too. So we can't really get a feel on what DeLone's doing.
Yeah, they got off to a rough start, and their coach has been very vocal about.
He really cuts to the chase in those stories.
He doesn't mess around.
He's one of the best for a soundbite. Williams will give it to you straight.
Mm-hmm. So, he obviously knows that he can expect a lot more than what he's getting. And I think we know that, too, that the talent's there. They got some kids that can really play. It's just a matter of, are they going to figure it out in time to win enough games to compete for a division title or not?
Well, bottom line, Zach alluded to it already. They're playing York Catholic on Friday. This is going to be their season, essentially, because the York Catholic 7-0, DeLone's 5-2. That's in division play. Mm-hmm. If they win that game, boom, you're right there.
Right in it, yeah. One game out, essentially, with the tiebreaker,
That's right.
So big game there coming up. Division 2 has kind of been another disappointment. West York's got off to a really slow start.
Northeastern has not.
Northeastern's high flying. We expected that, and they've been even maybe better than advertised. Donovan Maxfield has had a huge year so far. Every time I see his number, he comes up. He had
a game. He scored 16 the fourth the other night.
Yeah, he put up 23. They've been really solid. They lost to William Penn, which was kind of, I thought Northeastern would pull that one off. They lost to William Penn. They have a big game against Central Saturday at York College. That's gonna be a fun game.
That's gonna be a really fun game.
Yeah, I almost wish I wasn't off that day. Just to like, that's the one time I actually want to work a Saturday so I can see Central play Northeastern. That's gonna be a really good game.
You could go watch the game, not even have to write about it. Just go enjoy a game.
It's not too late. We can talk about that offline. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a huge game. They've had a great year. They really have. It's a competitive little division in its own way.
Gettysburg's surprised me a lot. Gettysburg lost a lot, and I thought that they kind of snuck in last year because they started off like 10-10 last year and then got hot late, and I was like, okay, maybe they just got hot at the right time. And then this year they start off 9-2, 10-2, something like that, and they're right back in it again. Lampy's just a gunner. That guy can score. They still got Campbell there, who's one of the funnest players to watch from the core. He's all over the place. And they've had some pretty solid shooting. And I think Dillard stepped up and gotten a lot better as well, a good forward.
Yeah, and they've obviously, given what they did last year, making a run to states, you know, some of these guys know. Yeah, exactly. They have the experience. They know what it takes.
Which is what they talk about. I was there when they lost. I mean, they lost by 40 to Newman Gretty in Philly last year, but you're playing the number one team, the state champ. And you're on the same court, you're playing with those guys. So you get to come back and say, okay, I think we could beat, a Susquehannock or a Kennerdale or something like that.
Right, Chambersburg.
Chambersburg, yeah. So, but the surprise, like I said, has kind of been West York's slide. We didn't expect York or West York to be this kind of off to a rough start. They've had some. I mean, they've only played. I think their first home game wasn't until New Year's almost. Like they played 7 or 8 straight road games to start the season.
And if they played, God, I find it hard to believe that they haven't played Northeastern yet.
No, they play them tomorrow night. I'll be there for that one.
I don't remember them playing them.
Yeah,
yet.
they played.
Well, that's going to be a huge game.
That'll be a huge game. We'll see if West York can bounce back. They've won by 50, I think, almost, or 45 against Susquehanna the other night, and then they beat Suburban by 1. Suburban's pretty shorthanded. That was a pretty tough one. I saw them lose to Dover by 20. It's just they've been off to a rough start.
Pretty up and down. Yeah, I remember
Macaulay's had a huge year though. Macaulay's been great.
After that Dover game, Ackerman had some choice words. Speaking of choice words, Ackerman definitely called it like it was after that contest. There's some tight races, and I think they're going to tighten up a bit. I think Northeastern 6-0, a couple big games tomorrow night. I'll say that right now. Northeastern, West York, kind of I don't like classifying must-win games, but in the grand scheme of things, West York really needs to win that game tomorrow, and DeLone Catholic really needs to beat York Catholic.
West York's sliding down the district rankings too. They got to start picking up some wins here, or they might not make the playoffs. But yeah, Ackerman and Sowers are kind of in the same position when I talk to them. They're both upset. Expectations were higher. They're disappointing because neither of the teams are playing the way these schools have played. Both are very traditionally, perennial powerhouses, and they play a certain way. And they've been getting beat. I mean, West York's traditionally one of the best defensive teams. They kill you with your defense. They got the second worst defense in the league this year. And York High can't get anything going in their fast breaks, and they're always down and kind of fighting with each other, which is very un-York High like. So both of them are in the same spot. Both of them said almost similar quotes, almost identical quotes. They said these guys had to kind of decide what they want to write the rest of the year, how they want to write their destiny. These guys in the locker room had to decide what they want their legacy to be the rest of the year. Do you want this class to go out with a losing, being that one bad season, or do you want to start winning? So they got to pick it up.
That'll be interesting. There's still plenty of ball to be played, and the reality is that they're both, as Brandon alluded to, championship caliber teams. Mm-hmm. They've proven they can win before. So, we'll see how they perform in crunch time. A little bit of a slow start, and then, there's obviously some teams in front of them that are off to very hot starts.
And one last one, Eastern York, I think is 7th in districts right now. So very, very good start. Brogan Nicholas can score. Actonburger can score. They got some solid spots out there. Another big game, Gettysburg tomorrow night. Yeah, that'll be a big one. All right, guys, that'll do it for boys basketball. When we come back, we're going to wrap the show up with some girls hoops talk, and we'll see you after the break.
People's Bank is happy to announce that you can now find our name in an exciting new place. The home of the York Revolution is now People's Bank Park. People's Bank has been serving York County for more than 150 years, committed to making it a great place to live, work, and play. That commitment continues at People's Bank Park with Revs games, concerts, events, youth sports, and more. We're proud to partner with the York Revolution. Seeing you at People's Bank Park. People's Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Pain doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
Getting pumped for another year of high school basketball? Tune in to Sports Radio 1350 WOIK as we lay it all out for you in the High School Basketball Spotlight. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch a preview every day this month leading up to tip-off on Sports Radio 1350. We'll break down the teams and the players of this year's York Adams League. Or go to WOIK1350.com for this year's complete lineup of high school basketball previews. And this winter, catch 2 games a week, including the High School Basketball Game of the Week every Friday. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine and only here on Sports Radio 1350.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey
Washington Capitals. Defending the den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Basketball. Nicholas helped the Golden Knights to a holiday tournament championship at Elizabethtown last week and scored 22 points on 6 made three-pointers in a 64-50 win over the Bears in the championship game. The Golden Knights improved to 7-3 with the win. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athletes of the Week are Jenna Woods and Casey Oberlander of Dallastown Swimming. Woods and Oberlander both won a pair of individual events in a tournament victory at home. Woods won the 200 intermediate and 100 breaststroke along with a pair of relay wins. Oberlander finished first in the 200 free and 100 backstroke.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY, and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
Hi, I'm York High Boys basketball coach Troy Sowers. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Teddy and Zach just getting into some commercial arguments about hockey. But we're back.
Like the Rangers.
We're back now, though. We got our snacks. We got our water, our food break in.
I don't know what's in this bag, and I don't know what I ate. It was decent, though.
It's some kind of white chocolate peppermint. We told you this 6 times.
Peppermint bark was what our fine producer Daryl called it.
In my mouth. I don't think it was peppermint bark.
Anyway, so past what Teddy did there. We are talking girls hoops now. First off, I want to touch on Division I, which has been outstanding top to bottom. I think yesterday or 2 days ago I looked at it, and there was 5 teams at 500 or better. Mm-hmm. Some surprises in there. The York High Lady Bearcats, they went 7-15 last year. They got 8 wins already this year.
Yeah, I have 2 surprises here. Go ahead, Brandon.
Okay, they got.
I always cut people off.
We didn't hear too much about them in the preseason, but they've had a pretty good start here so far. They went 7-15 last year, so great step up for those guys. Southwestern, we got Taylor Guyman. She's top 6 in the league in scoring already. She's a freshman, 14 points a game. They stepped their game up. Red Lion's undefeated. They're just rolling over everyone. Central's only lost 1 game, and that was the Red Lion. New Oxford, without any seniors, just came along, beating up on everyone. That's 5 solid teams. Outside of Spring Grove and somebody else.
This is the other surprise. No, this is the other surprise. This is the other surprise.
Oh, Dallastown.
Yes.
Dallastown won the division last year, and they got 1 win this year.
1 in 10.
Yeah. I've seen them play. I mean, a lot of those girls didn't really play last year that they have because they lost a lot of seniors, and they're
including a D1 player.
I think it was like 8 seniors and all 5 starters or something they lost. I mean, they bring back their top leading returning scorer, average 3 points or something like that.
I think it's just more like I'm not used to seeing their brand. I'm not used to
seeing
their name at the bottom of the standings.
Of anything, yeah.
Yeah, I look down there, I'm like, whoa, that's a goose egg next to Dallastown. That's crazy.
Yeah, they've been pretty bad, but other than that, I mean, everyone's been pretty solid. I mean, Courtney Demoff committed to Millersville. Her and Jordan Closter from Northeastern, 2 of our best girls players in the area. First off, forgot to mention, I don't know how we forgot this. Jordan Closter from Northeastern, and then Montreal Morgan and Chris Johnson from William Penn nominated to the McDonald's All-American game.
Very cool.
They're 3 of 700 nominations right now, but still to even be nominated for an All-American game on ESPN and McDonald's All-American game is pretty solid, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that never happened to me. Well, it's true.
So William Penn's been solid with China Steel, and their crew at 8-5. Demoff has been leading Red Lion. It looks like Red Lion's in the driver's seat. Central could give them a run. Central's been very good with Saxton and Valencic, and Preston, the newcomer from Hempfield. But it looks like right now it's going to be Red Lion.
Red Lion actually comes to New Oxford on Tuesday. That could be a good game. New Oxford gave Central a run for its money with a 44-43 loss earlier in the year. They get Red Lion at home. This is New Oxford's a team that could beat Red Lion, but it'll be interesting.
When is that game?
It's on Tuesday.
And I believe tomorrow night, I think New Ox is hosting Central. So they got some big games.
Oh, yeah, there is. And Southwestern, I think, has a very similar schedule, just flipped, I think. I think those 4 teams are all kind of playing each other in the next few days.
I think actually coming into the year, we discussed this, that we thought that Red Lion and Central were going to be jockeying, and then New Oxford could be right there, and that's actually playing out that way.
Yeah, it is. And I was at the first time they played New Oxford and Red Lion, and Kalen Long got in early foul trouble and missed about 10 minutes. But other than that 10 minutes, the rest of the game they played even. I mean, Red Lion outscored them by maybe 15 in that 10-minute gap without Kalen Long, so the score looked lopsided, but when she was on the floor, it was an even matchup.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a long drive for Red Lion. It could get interesting.
It could get interesting. That'd be a pretty big win for New Oxford. I think both teams are pretty secure right now in the district rankings. We have a lot. On the girls' side, we have a lot of district teams right now. It's been pretty solid all around. But anyway, so Division I, very, very, very solid top to bottom. Division III has been the 2 Catholic schools and everyone else, just like we expected.
I mean, that's kind of what it is every year, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, a great game. We talked about it earlier. Obviously, a great game between DeLone and York Catholic on Tuesday night, and they're going to get each other at the end of January as well. I'm expecting another great game. That one will be at DeLone Catholic, but yeah, DeLone Catholic right now in the driver's seat. Both teams though, kind of. Well, DeLone's not really young. York Catholic is pretty young. DeLone's not so much young, but the girls on their bench don't have a lot of experience. Jill Novak is out for the season, right, which is a big loss.
Which makes us even more impressive, the fact that DeLone's not only treaded water, but they've excelled without.
Could you imagine if she was there?
They've missed their big player, their forward, Jill Novak, for almost the entire year. I think she played 1 or 2 games and she's out for the year. And they missed Shipley, their leading scorer, for 3 weeks.
Right, and she's still got a brace on her knee and probably isn't 100%. They're basically playing like a 5-guard lineup right now. Like, forget that 4-guard Villanova team. This is a 5-guard lineup, and
they're small ball,
and they just do a little of everything. They got girls that go and try to get those rebounds. They crash the boards as best they can. They can all pretty much shoot, all 5 of their starters, and so it's a good balance, and they play well together, and so far it's working.
Yeah, it's been those two, and that's how we expected. We thought Biglerville was kind of the next tier behind them.
Yeah, but Biglerville's not really. Losing Rebecca Isaac has been more of a struggle than we anticipated. Right now it's Bermudian Springs and Littlestown are the next 2 teams behind. They play each other tomorrow night. They went to overtime the first time, so it could be another good game between those 2 teams. But yeah, I mean, I don't see either of them really coming on, giving the Catholic schools a run for their money at all.
Hey, have we talked D2 at all?
D2, I was just about to get into that. Susquehanna.
I just want to give them a shout out.
Susquehanna girls basketball. They won 11-13 they were around 500 last year. I think it was like 11-13, 12-12. So we had some mild expectations for them. Maybe they're middle of the pack again. They didn't gain anything big. They didn't lose anything big. They were just kind of there. Here they are, 9-2. Their only 2 losses are to Central York.
We did know this was going to be a wide open division. I think that we thought maybe Suburban might be the favorite, and they're 5-1, 9-2 overall.
We thought this was the year Suburban overtook West York, because West York lost a lot, and we said, okay, Suburban brings back a lot of what they had. They were a great team last year. They had the coach of the year, Barley. Maybe this is the year Suburban passed them. But then Susquehanna said, okay, wait, we're here too, and then they leapfrog both of them. And Susky already has wins over West York and Suburban, so they're in the driver's seat right now. Only 2 losses in the season, and both of them were to Central York twice in a week. They lost to them. They played them in a holiday tournament and a regular season game, and lost both times to them.
There's something about Susquehanna and Suburban sitting atop of standings that's just refreshingly scrap iron. Yeah. I really like that.
It was like that during girls basketball season too, or girls volleyball. We were talking about girls basketball season. Girls volleyball is the same way.
And of course, and then I'll even say, if we want to, and then in football, Susky was a 500 team, which was a surprise. We all know what Suburban did. So nice to see those teams, battling.
I think West York's rebuilt quicker than we thought they would. I mean, they lost a ton. They lost 2 first-team All-Stars and a lot of their starting lineup, and they've bounced back pretty well. I think
they're right there.
Yeah, I think we knew about Solberger come back. I think Bamberger's been pretty solid, I believe, as well, scoring the ball for them. So
I'm just glad that you got Solberger and Bamberger both in there. Thank you.
No problem. But those 2 have been chasing Susquehanna, so that race is wide open too. Like you said, we have a ton of good games coming up. And we're going to find out. These division races always come down in the last week or 2, so it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, Friday night there'll be some really good ball on GameTime PA. Check it out. I'm sure we're live streaming a game, and of course we're going to have all our troops on the ground. So check us out on Twitter. We'll be We'll be tweeting like crazy, giving you all the live updates you need. And there is some really good basketball this weekend.
Yeah, I will be at Northeastern versus West York boys basketball tomorrow. Like we said, West York definitely needs a W there. Zach, where are you heading tomorrow?
I'll be at Bermudian Springs Littlestown girls basketball, seeing Littlestown for the first time. Both teams maybe, could use a few more wins and make the postseason. So probably not in the mix for the division, but potentially for districts.
I know we're also covering the DeLone York Catholic game. Alabama will be at a ball game.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Arnold's going to the new Oxford Central York girls game. So
great.
There's some games out there, and they're all big. They're all big.
And keep an eye on even the ones we don't have. We might not be able to get there tomorrow. Keep an eye on the Gettysburg Eastern is a very big one for. I mean, those are two top 7 schools in the district right now in AAA. So that's big. That's big for playoff ranking and for division race.
No
right now.
question. No question. We will have all those games rocking and rolling on our Twitter handle, as Brandon alluded to, and of course on GameTime PA. We'll have live updates and analysis all night long.
And check out some of our other stuff on there. We got some stories on there. Zach did the wrestling story. We got some basketball stuff. We got a midseason review to catch you up with all the storylines we've had so far. Some teams catching up. We got the story on Central and York Catholic kind of exceeding expectations.
We have incredible, rich local content. We do.
That's why we opened the show by saying we're the experts on the local.
Right.
All right. Before Teddy cut you off.
Yeah, before Teddy cut me, as he has for most of the show.
I have some funny cutoff jokes for off air because I know I had made some observations during the program.
Oh, anyway, last one to get to. If you're a basketball fan in the area, you're not doing anything Saturday night or Saturday evening, go check out that Northeastern Central. Those are arguably the 2 best teams in the league this year.
Brandon knows why. That game, as you allude to, is at York College.
York College, yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember what time it's at, but I know it's Saturday.
Check out Game Time. The time's on Game Time.
All right, guys. That's we're gonna wrap up the show. That'll be it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in again. We'll be back same time next week, guys. 4 to 5 on the live stream, 6 to 7 on the air. All right, see you guys.
See ya.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.